investing in green technology. Is that green technology based in London? Are we going to see any effect on the ground? Are we going to see more jobs that are available to citizens of London?
Well, thank you. It's a very comprehensive question. Perhaps if I could just deal with the things you specifically asked me. I think that there's two parts to the question. There's the European-wide work that's being done on the environment, and there's the specific impact on London. One of the things that the EU's been working hard on is the emissions trading scheme, whereby individual member states are allocated an amount of emissions, and if one member state doesn't use their full quota, they can sell it to another member state, but basically it keeps the amount of emissions throughout the EU at an agreed level. That's been in place for a few years now, and I think it's actually been a good initiative. I mean, there are criticisms of it, and it can go further, but at least it's established a principle that emissions should be controlled, and it is doing that. The questions of emissions also come up in relation to car manufacture, and this does affect London as well as more generally. It's been very difficult to get car manufacturers to take the whole question of reducing emissions and particulates as well as carbon emissions on board. I mean, they really have not wanted to know, with few honourable exceptions like Toyota, who've actually developed hybrid cars. And I actually think one of the problems that car manufacturers are in such difficulty at the moment is that they're not keeping up with demand and what people want. And that's been quite a big EU thing, actually, to try and reduce car emissions and improve and actually put things like converters on cars to reduce emissions. So that's on the sort of global thing. Obviously, the car issue does have a big impact on London. There aren't any plans at the moment to increase petrol prices or travel costs or anything. I mean, we don't actually have a London-wide policy to do that. What the other things, though, that I want to talk about is green jobs. I mean, that's something that's talked about quite a lot in Europe, and the number of jobs in the environment industries is increasing and will continue to increase. The other thing is renewable energy, which has been quite a significant initiative in the EU. I'm actually on the committee that deals with energy policy, and it's actually been one of my Labour Party colleagues, Eluned Morgan from Wales, who's been taking the whole energy package through, the recent energy package through the committee, and we have actually established a target of 10% of energy should come from renewable sources, which may not sound very much, but it is quite a big step forward, and I think that will continue because there's a big commitment to do that. So I think there is progress being made. It may not be as fast as some people would like, and it's not, I think, as fast as I ideally would like, but we are going in the right direction, and there are some of us working very hard to push it further.
Thank you, Mary. Christopher, do you know?
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. You said to me in your question, you referred to the cleaning up the past and the new capitalism as if it was a Lib Dem policy. It's not a Lib Dem policy. It's my own personal belief of an issue that has to be tackled. But within our party, we are a broad church, and more of us are realizing we have to do something, so that some of us are beginning to speak, if you like, out of turn. Whereas, in another sense, you might say Sarah Ludford spoke out of turn. She's entirely on her own when it comes to Israel. But I was saying something that I feel has to be raised. We're all individuals in the Liberal Democrats, and I'm passionate about a number of issues, and I will use my position to raise them. Do we have a constructive plan? Well, the environment runs through all our policies, and Friends of the Earth recently gave us the top billing as the greenest political party in the UK. We can still improve how we go, but I'm quite happy that how we're doing. For instance, on climate change, the science is now worse than it was when the climate change bill was drawn up. So we need to be making much more radical steps than even that bill has foresees. But already, the UK is the most advanced country in the world in terms of having a bill on the statute books. No other country has done it. okay, the proof is to implement it, and I'm in a backhanded way endorsing the Labour government. They've at least had the guts with the support of others to put it through. Okay, it's not all the answer, but well done on them. We now need to make it work, and need to make it work more quickly. And this is where, perhaps in the European Parliament, you see the differences. The Lib Dems have been pushing for against the third runway and for the clean-up of the River Thames. So, two local examples. We in the Lib Dems are very happy to use EU legislation to make a difference in the UK, and for instance to have a full environmental impact assessment of the third runway at Heathrow. The Tories are against using EU legislation for what it's designed, and Labour in this instance is in favour of the third runway. When it comes to the Thames, we'll use EU legislation to, if you like, help people at a local level. We have other examples. We'll use the EU level to provide, to do the things at that level which can't be done at the local level. Finally, what I would say, and I would just come back to the thing about the Green New Deal, because this is one of our key pillars in our manifesto this time. We want to see a new cadre of green-collar workers, so people who are trained up to retrofit our housing, because our housing stock is pretty poor when it comes to energy efficiency. So in terms of insulation, eco-efficiency, microgeneration at a local level, we've got to radically train up people across the country to be able to install things on the roofs, in our gardens, so we are much greener. And then finally, I would say, this is the other side of this, is at the international level. There's a lovely scheme which the Greens and the Liberal Democrats are supporting in the European Parliament, which is the Desertec scheme of renewable energy, which links Iceland, the geothermal energy in Iceland, with the wind and wave energy from the UK and Ireland, with photovoltaic energy in the continental Europe, and the solar power, concentrated solar power from the Muslim countries of North Africa. It's a wonderful partnership between all countries to stabilize not only our economies but also the economies of North Africa, and tackle our environment and have a renewable energy resource for generations to come to replace oil and nuclear. So in one sense, that's environment, that's energy, and that's green jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Sure.
Thank you for your question. It's one for each of us in a slightly different take on that question, I think. It's very difficult. There's no easy answer. Politicians can implement laws, but we need to be able to follow them, and we need to make sure they're good for the job. So what I would say for a start is that a lot of reducing our carbon footprint, if you will, and the amount of energy that we actually use is also looking at our lifestyles. And that was part of the point of bringing up the idea of the quality of life. Because actually you'll find, for example, that if you move towards more human scale options of transport, could be walking or cycling, that's an interesting idea, walking or cycling, these are actually quite enjoyable, in terms of exercise, enjoying your environment, so long as the roads aren't clogged up. So what the Greens, for example, in the London Assembly have been doing, particularly under the previous mayor, was working very hard in setting budgets and getting more money for those kind of schemes, and maybe opening up the waterways as well. And not making the car our enemy as such, who would think that, but moving towards environmentally sort of carbon neutral forms of transportation as well. Now, unfortunately, when you look at the options for that, there aren't that many around, because even if you're going to source it by electricity, you need to make sure that the electricity is from renewable sources, and you're wondering up what's actually contributing to the mix. Even if you look at biodiesel, which is a very big problem, African and Asian states have come together to say this is a very bad thing for them in terms of affecting what they're left to eat. So it's understood that many of the technologies originally pursued are actually harming the planet and making things worse. So I would want to emphasize the need for lifestyle changes and ways in which we can make those attractive just by